In the shadow of the cataclysm known as Voidfall, as the cosmic corruption of the Voidborn pushed the Dominium to the brink of annihilation, the surviving Great Houses secretly launched the Revenant and its escort fleet to escape the fallen empire and secure humanity's legacy beyond the known galaxy. Over 4 rounds, players assign crew to ships throughout the fleet to perform actions. You will fight corrupted ships, explore planets for resources, upgrade your ship and crew, deploy allied vessels, and activate the Revenant's hyperdrive to temporarily escape the increasing threat. Regardless of your efforts, casualties are inevitable under the constant assault of the Voidborn forces, much like Joe. So make sure you gain influence with the enduring Great Houses, or protect those you already favor. Tonight on the Board Boys,
it's the Revenant.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Board Boys Podcast, Season 19, Episode 1. We're back again for a new season. This is your board boy, Darkness Rob.
This is your boy, definitely not Star Wars Joe.
This is your boy, voluptuous Voidborn Nate.
And this is your boy, Space Battleship Ben.
Well, as you can see, there's only one OG board boy here tonight.
Were you an OG board boy?
I mean, yes.
Eh.
Actually, there's 0 OG board boys. And I guess, anyway, you know what I mean. But I've got 3 fantastic other board boys here to help me review Revenant from Mind Clash Games. Joe, how have you been?
You know, it was my birthday yesterday, so I'm doing just great.
But we didn't let you win tonight, so that's sad.
We all know I won in my heart.
Perfect. And then we've got Nate. Nate, this is your first time on the podcast, yeah?
First time on the podcast, yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And Nate, actually, stay tuned. He is actually donating a copy of Revenant that you're going to be able to win in a contest to be determined. So follow up with us for that later.
What's crazy is Nate is looking like he had no idea he was donating that until just now.
Well, no,
This is what brought me together, right?
I mean, spoiler alert. I'm not sure with Nate's review of the game. I know he was looking to offload his copy, and I'm like, well, I already own it. And then he was like, I will graciously donate it as a giveaway. So we haven't done one for a while, so that'll be exciting. And then we've also got Ben. Ben, this is your second time on the cast, yeah?
Yeah, last time was BGG Con last year. I've had a lot more sleep this time.
That's true.
Feeling
He
better.
is BGG Con Ben. This will be your 3rd year going?
Third
This
year.
year?
Yep.
This will be your 2nd year in a row going without BJ from Board Game Gumbo. Thanks a lot, BJ, for not
Bummer.
showing up to BGG Con.
We'll just hang out with all of BJ's friends without BJ.
I will hang out with David Duga.
100%.
He's my boy. All right. Well, has
Wait,
anybody?
what have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
Yeah, what have you been up to?
Just working, man.
You haven't been playing board games?
Working like a dog. I mean, yeah, I've been playing some games, living by the pool, going on work trips, playing some games on those work trips. So, I mean, a lot of lighter stuff. We played Core of Discovery, which we've talked about a ton on the podcast, but I took it when we went to Washington, D.C., and I taught it to just some pretty casual people, and they just ate it up. They loved it. And we won by the skin of our teeth, just the basic scenario.
It's a co-op?
It is a co-op.
Okay.
It is like Sudoku, the board game meets...
A little bit Minesweeper.
Yeah, a little bit Minesweeper-ish. And it's cooperative. And it's Lewis and Clark, but there's monsters.
It's based on a graphic novel.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the theme, so...
I mean, that sounds very light.
How have you not played this game?
Maybe I have.
I mean, I don't know. It's been played a lot here, so...
Like-
Joe, that's my favorite thing about you is you're not entirely sure if you've ever played a game before.
If you get the components out of the box, I can tell you way more about the game if I've played it or not. But if you tell me the name of a game, no idea.
I love it.
It does not make me a good guest host on Board Boys, though.
That's true.
Or alternatively, maybe it makes you the best host because it's new every time.
That's true.
It's true. It's always just brand new and exciting for Joe.
It's always BGG number 1 because it's the only game I've ever played.
You
Yeah.
can't be jaded if you don't remember the games.
That's true. Man, it's just like I just watched this movie called The Sheep Detective. I don't know if anybody's seen this
Great
yet.
movie, yep.
It was really good. It was kind of like Hercule Poirot with sheep.
It's like Knives
Yeah.
Out with sheep, right?
Yeah.
I heard it was fun.
Jackman.
But something that the sheep can do is just choose to forget, like as a group. So I didn't really think about that until now, but it's kind of like Joe.
You're welcome.
They're like,
Joe is a sheep.
I am very much a
they're
sheep.
like, something bad happened. Let's just
So
forget.
they just count to 3.
Yeah.
And then it's gone. Like
On 3.
1, 2.
1. Like, what are we doing here?
This is why I'm in portfolio management. Every bad idea we've ever had, I'm ready to do it again.
1, 2.
All right, well, Nate, I see you post a lot about some stuff you've been playing in one of the local groups here. Why don't you talk about something?
Well, got a few things going on. Number one, my son and I are playing through Cozy Stickerville. I don't know if anybody here has played that, but
no, I've seen it. It looks cute.
it is amazing. I think it's nominated for the Kennerspiel des Jahres, and it's like a 10 game campaign. It's cooperative, so you're working through. There's a deck of cards that you flip over. Then you get choices on each turn, which all amounts to placing stickers on the board and building out your town. So that's probably the coolest thing, is just at the end of each game to kind of look at how your town is coming together and the different objectives that you're pursuing. We've also been doing a lot of camping. And so with that comes just playing quick little camping games. Like I think this last weekend we played Mountain Goats probably 3 or 4 times. Fliptunes. Have you guys played Fliptunes?
Yeah, I like Fliptunes.
Oh, yeah.
a lot.
Oh my God. It's on BGA now too.
The second
Flip
season
7.
just came out on BJ with a whole new deck.
Yes.
It's
Ooh.
100%
Yep.
new cards.
Season 2 just released, and I got my shipping notice that season 2 is on the way too. But I
Nice.
love that game.
Is it like Flip 7?
No.
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 Cool.
I mean, you flip cards. So
Hey, I know the
yes.
name of that game.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever played it, but I know
Fliptunes
the
is like
name
a
of it.
small little tableau builder thing where you're trying to like play cards to get them to like activate each other and score a bunch of
Oh,
points.
I've played this with you, maybe.
And they look like Animaniacs characters,
Yeah.
Yeah,
basically.
and then the game ends like as soon as you score so many points.
Somebody
on the turn
scores
or
30
something.
points, that queues up the end of the game, but then you get your final flip, which I think that's part of the fun. Is you could get 32 points to end the game, and then your next flip is terrible. And you end with
Yeah,
15 points. So
it's time for me to play this again.
yeah,
We'll spin up a BGA game for sure.
it is fun.
Got to
just
check out season 2.
the quick hit games with the families kind of been what I'm up to. And then one last thing is I've gotten into hosting these championship games. So like we've been hosting a Scythe championship game, and I'll go all out and buy like a trophy and just bring a bunch of guys over. We'll make a big spectacle out of it. And then the winner of the game gets a trophy. So right now I'm working on painting all of my Rising Sun minis,
Nice.
and I've got a nice 4-foot wooden katana that has the Rising Sun champion trophy that'll be handed out. So that's what's been keeping me busy.
Nice. I've been wanting to get Scythe back to the table and maybe replay the campaign. Because I originally played the campaign years ago when it came out, and we played with 7 people, and it was not a good time.
Oh, I can't imagine. Yeah.
See, I'd like to revisit and try it again, especially with Duel of Moloch coming out. And I really like Scythe and Expedition, so I'm excited just to have like another faction you can play in either of those games. And then the game just seems interesting as far as
I'm
like
very
a
intrigued. Plus, with that expansion, you could do Scythe as just a solely 2-player game, which I think will be pretty cool too.
yeah.
I will say I have been playing a lot of Scythe Adjacent, a secondhand copy of my little Scythe,
Oh,
which
sure.
I actually got from you, Rob.
Yeah.
My daughter is like just about 6, and she is absolutely in love with it. She is terrible at teaching games, but she won't let anybody else teach her or teach my little Scythe. So
That's super cute.
yeah, it's great.
It's got like, it's such a cute little theme too.
It is. I really also like that it's like all the same like animal species that are in the actual Scythe, but they're just cuted up a whole bunch, which is perfect.
Yeah, and they have like little painting guides for all the characters
They
in
do.
there too, which I think is also pretty neat.
Yeah. So, Joe, are you painting your copies with your
No,
with your
man,
daughter?
I don't have-
Got to get her into minis painting.
Oh, that's a whole nother podcast here, I think.
And I've got one that Rob has played with me pretty recently, pretty exciting one, which is a re-release of an older game from about 10 years ago from Trick or Treat Studios, and that is Camp Grizzly 2nd Edition. For those of you that haven't seen it before, Camp Grizzly is a really thematic 70s slasher movie as a board game, where you're playing camp counselors and a guy in a bear mask with a gardening claw on one of his hands is running around trying to hack you to pieces. And you flip cards that make you distracted and force you to, grab one of the other counselors and run behind the sports shed to make out. And while you're making out, the killer might find you. And, you find cameos, like one of the characters' boyfriends might come onto the board and just stalk her around the board. And if he runs into her, something bad happens. And you just have to try to find key items and escape. And every escape is also a card with a story on it where you have to like roll dice and make decisions that you may not survive the escape. It was really thematic both times I've played it. It was a lot of fun. I've played it at 3 players and 6 players, and we had a great time in both groups. So Camp Grizzly, if you're into horror games, it's a pretty fun one.
Yeah, I really liked it so much so I'm looking for a copy. I mean, any game that has expansions like labeled Spin the Bottle or Keep Your Distance.
Or
There's like an R-rated one.
Jump the Bear, which is like jumping the shark. You just adds like 80 schlock comedy to the mix.
Yeah, there's just a huge pile of cards and so many random hilarious things. And like it's all super thematic things that can happen too. Like you can get lost in the woods. And it was really easy just to teach and just start playing with everybody.
Yeah, the player turns are really simple. You move and you pick stuff up, and then you just draw a card, and whatever the card says happens, and that's your whole turn.
Yeah, it reminded me because Amy's like, this is like that other game we have, which we have Halloween from Trick or Treat Studios, which is one of my favorite hidden movement games. Because it's a similar thing where you're running around trying to find keys to the car and the 2 kids, and then get the kids out of the car. I like this one that there's the 4 different objectives in the corners. And there's a bunch of different ones of those, and you just find the stuff to go do that ending, and then you figure out what that ending actually is. Which reminds me of a different one called, what's the one with remember the game with the flashlights?
Oh, yeah, and like you can upgrade your flashlight to be, was it different colors or like a wider beam or something like that?
Oh, I'm gonna die because I'm not gonna remember the name of this game. Maybe I'll edit it in later, but
I can tell you everything about the game.
it is called The Stifling Dark.
Yeah, I played that game.
And same thing, like it's a hidden movement game, but you have a flashlight, you can point it around, and there's a killer, and the killer is trying to like avoid your flashlight and murder you. And then there's like different ways that game can end too. That game has a way more mechanics and stuff than this one, but just like little similarities.
What's the hidden movement game where everybody knows where the killer is and the killer doesn't know where
That's
everybody
Terror
else is?
Escape.
That's like a good twist on the same genre as well.
That's Rob's current 4-point game, I think.
It is.
Ooh.
I love Terror Escape so much.
It plays well. Rob, with the investment that you have in the 3D printed,
painted
like player map for the 1 versus 3, it feels like it kind of has to be your 4-point.
Yeah, actually, there's a season 2 of that coming out, and it's shipping very soon.
So, Rob, based off of your recommendation, I backed Terror Escape 2, and I went all in with everything. So it better be worth it.
That's going to be a lot of boxes. And the worst part is you're going to get all those boxes, and you're going to put them in one box, and you're going to have a ton of boxes that are just going to go in the recycle.
It's got to be good based off your recommendations. I did see though that they've already got the samples and they're getting ready to ship.
Yeah, yep.
He took the Painted Mansion to BGG Con with us last year, and we must have had 50 people stop by the table just to
That's the table presence.
Poke their head around and look in the windows, and
yeah, it's super cool.
Really,
I'd like to add like some people have like put lights in it and stuff, and like a fog machine. Okay, you can get kind of crazy with it. I did want to go back to say you were talking about Mountain Goats, and my copy of Mountain Goats Legacy is shipping soon. I'm curious, like I'll play. To me, like I don't know, maybe they print too many games. They're one of those companies that just like shotgun approaches everything, but they're also approachable. Most of them are fun, and when they do a Kickstarter, it's like, well, here's the main game. And here's a couple of games that are pretty cheap. It's just like, okay, I'll just get all of them. Yeah. They have a really good marketing team. And they roll them out every like 3 or 4 months. So like you constantly are like, I didn't even realize this one was going to come because I was just backing a different one. And I know there's another one down the pipeline. So it's just everything, some stuff shows up from All Play all the time.
You're just in the swing of, you're just going to buy the next one from them all the time.
I guess. I mean, right now I just backed the Kabuto Sumo dice rolling one that's like Strike, and Strike is a freaking like great game. And so give me Strike with powers, and Bo already likes Kabuto Sumo, so
yeah, that looked really cool. I was cautiously optimistic on the Mountain Goats Legacy, so I'm interested to see how that comes out.
I have no idea.
I didn't back it, but
I love Legacy.
I feel like it could be great, or it could just be super boring.
We'll find out soon,
right?
Have you played Layers at all with your son?
No.
Okay, you need to check out Layers.
This is an all-play game, or what is this?
No, Layers, it was reminding me when you were talking about the other game, the Cozy Stickerville. This is a competitive game, but Layers is a 2-player dungeon building game where you build a dungeon and the other player builds a dungeon and you try to go through each other's dungeons. It's
All
by
I'm gonna check this out.
KBTG.
KTBG,
Kids Table Board
Kids Table
Games.
Board Games.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is fantastic. And I mean, unfortunately, like I think the best way to get it is to get the thing with all the stuff, but I think they do sell all the stuff with it. So, and I've talked about it on a previous episode. I'd have to go search back for it. But yeah, Layers, that reminded me of, if you're looking for a good 2-player game to play with a kid, Layers is a blast.
How old?
I would say 8,
Okay.
8 and up maybe. Like it starts off, so you could always play like the super easy thing.
Sure.
And like it's also a thing like where even if they were younger, you could play it like 2 parents and like a
Right.
parent on one side, but it is like it's not a legacy game. It's like completely resettable, but it's basically like after you play a game, it's like okay, now you can unlock this little thing, and it adds like a little bit each game
Okay.
until like the point where we're getting at. This is a full blown 2-player game that 2 adults would have like a blast, like
Yeah. Okay.
messing with
Yeah,
each
that
other.
sounds awesome.
There's lots of choices, lots of monsters, lots of traps that you can put in there.
Okay.
But the rule set is pretty simple. It's really fun. The one I wanted to talk about, I guess I was going to talk about, we've already talked about a couple of the ones I was going to talk about. I'm just going to talk about one more called Warp 99. This is a review copy that we got from Bezier Games. The designer is Reinhard Stopp, and the artist is Victoria Fajardo and Matt Paquette & Co. Oh, I know Matt Paquette. He goes to BGG Con, and he gave me a challenge coin.
Oh, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
he's a really cool dude. I'll have to tell him that I played his game, or a game they did art on. Anyway, Warp 99 is a small little box game, and we got the expansion for it. I forget what it was called, but it basically gave you more rules for it. It's a deck of cards, 0 to 10 different colors, I think. You shuffle all those together, and then you put 3 rule cards out on the table, and you start 2 discard piles. The 3 basic rules are +1, equals 10, and same card color. Those are the rules.
Okay.
On your turn, you play a card face down in front of you, and then you square that, and you score that many points. So the first time you play one card, you get 1 point. The next time you play a card down, it has to be a different color and a higher number than every other card in your row. So the second card is 4 points, and then 9 and 16, and so on. It's the first person to 99 points wins. But that's kind of where we thought the game was, and where the game ended up being was in the part B of your turn, where you basically follow these 3 rules and try to empty the rest of your hand out. So on the 2 discard piles, if there's a 4 and a 5, you could play like a 6 on the 5, and that satisfies the +1.
Okay.
Or you could have played a 5 on the 5, and that satisfied the equals 10. Or I could have played a red card on a red card, and that satisfied the equals. So, and you can just do all that. And if you empty your hand, you take another turn and you go again.
From step A, so you add to your row and get the squared number again too.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like Uno on steroids.
Yeah. But after the fact, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, that was a lot like Uno, because you're kind of doing that stuff.
With a lot more math.
Yeah. It's very mathy. And sometimes you're like, well, and you can always like score your row and wipe it before you play another card down. And sometimes it was like, well, you get more, and every time you go through your small little deck of 15 cards, you get 15 points. So you can get a lot of points by just burning through your hand faster than you could play the long game and try to make a really long card row and score points that way. But I think the way to really score the points is just to burn through that 15 card deck over and over again and score those points and take more turns.
What's it called again?
Warp 99.
I need to pick this up. I've been playing roughly 20 hands of Uno a week with my daughter right now. So this feels like a good evolution to that.
Yeah.
It's as Rob mentioned, it's very mathy. So if that's a struggle, it is what it is. But we played it the other day and I loved it. It's really satisfying when you just see the line where you can do everything you want to do on a turn and then, run through your whole deck and score a whole bunch of points. And it's like, I went last, and at the beginning of the game, I thought that was going to be a pretty big disadvantage, and I just barely squeaked out the win. I think I went over by like 2 points.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
The little mini expansion is called Warp 99 Hyperdrive. And that is basically just a pack of cards with more rule cards that give you different rules. And those rules I said, they also have an opposite side. So if you play your card to your card row and you can't satisfy any of the requirements, you show your hand and then you're allowed to flip one of the rules over to the other side. And so for the 3 basic rules, one is -1, one is equal number, and the other one was divisible.
Or multiplied by 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So those are kind of the
constantly
6 base
changing.
rules. And yeah, it was super fun. It played pretty quickly, and like you just keep track of the score as you go because the score is in real time basically. And as soon as somebody scores 99, that just ends the game.
That sounds cool.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I was like, "What is this game?" And then I was like, "This game's pretty fun." So, and I think it's going to be coming out at Gen Con, so it's not quite out yet, I don't think. But in the next month or so, it should probably start hitting stores.
Right.
And the art was very colorful. Like the cards were nice, and the card stock was good, I think.
Yeah, they had pretty distinct patterns and stuff on them, so it's fairly easy to tell the difference between, when you're just looking at a row at a glance, you could tell if it's a legal play or not, I don't think we really had any issues there, so.
Are
Good
Board
time.
Boys making a presence at Gen Con?
No, I got the itch real bad, and it did not happen.
Okay.
The last 2 years, it was a impromptu, like maybe the month before, I was like, yeah, let's go.
I figured maybe you were just gonna go and like scalp a ticket at the entry and see how it goes from there.
Just go. Yeah. No, I mean, going in the last minute is okay if you can find lodging, but that's the hardest part about Gen
Yeah,
Con if you're
yeah.
not pre-planning. We did Geekway to the West this year instead, and that was a really fun convention. If you're in the Midwest, that was worth the trip down there for sure.
That's in St. Louis?
Yeah, that was in St. Louis. It was really fun. A lot of Des Moines folks go, and it's like 5.5 hours down there, and they have a really, really good, like they're known for their play to win thing, and they run that really well. And they have a lot of games and a lot of multiples of the same game. And
Yeah,
Nice.
I've heard kind of like BGG Con, it's a much more go-to-play games, not to
Yeah.
buy games kind of convention,
Yep.
so.
definitely, and it's probably similar. Nah, it's smaller than BGG Con, I think, but probably not by much. All right, well, tonight on the podcast, we played Revenant from Mindclash Games. The designer is Alan Kirkby, and the art is by Ian O'Toole. It is currently ranked 5,521st overall. It is a 7.9 on BGG, came out in 2026. In Revenant, you evacuate a besieged Starfleet, navigating external threats and internal alliances. Joe, did you feel like you were doing that this
I
evening?
didn't do any of that.
All right. It is 1 to 4 players, best at 3, 90 to 120 minutes, ages 14 plus, and the weight is 4.07 out of 5.
No, that feels too high.
Okay, then. Well, we'll get into that. Ben, why don't you hit us with what we do in Revenant?
In Revenant, we are the captains of basically a little squadron. We are interacting with the house ships that are escorting the Revenant, which is this colony ship trying to escape the Voidborn. And we send our cadets or our captain out to take control of house ships and increase our influence with those ships to perform actions like land on planets and do some mining to get resources we need. We build upgrades both for our own personal frigates and we upgrade our own cadets. We fight the Voidborn sometimes, although I don't think I blew up a single Voidborn ship today.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Way to contribute.
My bad. Thanks, guys. And in general, we're trying to just help the Revenant survive to eventually reach a colony. In theory, in practice, we're trying to make sure that we have the most influence with the houses that are the most valuable at the end of the game, while also trying to sabotage the efforts of our neighbors.
All right, well, let's get to the table and we'll come back with our thoughts on Revenant. We are back. Initial thoughts time here on the Board Boys podcast for Revenant. I'll hit it first. I saw that this was in the Voidfall universe, and they were coming to, I don't know, they do Kickstarter or Game Found. It doesn't matter. They do one of the two. And I was like, yep. And it was worker placement, which is one of my favorite mechanisms. I didn't really notice at the time that it was like a totally different designer, which is kind of interesting that like a different designer did a game in the same universe, which makes me wonder, like, did he have like this game and then they're like, oh, let's make this Revenant? Or did he try to make a Voidfall game? Like, which one came first? Was it the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, I really think
mean?
this was a game first, and then they said, let's make this like Voidfall themed.
Maybe just because Voidfall's the banger,
I mean,
right?
yeah, Voidfall slaps, but this is like not saying anything bad about this, but it's a very different game than Voidfall is. Like, if you think this is going to be the natural successor to it, I think you're probably going in with a little bit of an incorrect assumption, which was honestly kind of how I came to the table. That said, the table presence is still awesome. The game is still super fun. Like, the art and iconography is very similar to what they had before. Not a bad game by any means, but like going in with the expectation that this is going to be the same game as Voidfall and I can just pick it up. I think that was just a little bit of a bad assumption on my part.
So I'm probably the only guy at the table who has not played Voidfall, but you can tell from listening to the board boys, I know Rob's super high on Voidfall. And then I'm a huge, dudes on a map, the epic minis, things like that. That type of stuff just draws me in. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to jump into the Voidfall universe, which is why I picked this up and why I went all in with the copy and, all the minis and the plastic pieces and things like that. But I think the thing that really kind of bamboozled me was there's so much iconography and things like that this was my third time playing tonight, but like first two games, I bet we consulted that reference book like 30 times during any given game just to kind of understand what was going on. And thematically, it just didn't seem like a lot of things clicked for me in terms of like understanding why does this ship do this versus this ship do this, that type of stuff. But I don't know, it still is like I like the mechanics of the game in terms of I really like the track that where you're trying to manipulate where can I bump above the other people and how can I take other people down on the tracks that maybe they're high on. Like I think that mechanism in and of itself is really intriguing and there's a lot of brain thought into like how do you impact that.
I will say that was one thing that felt an awful lot like Voidfall for me. It was like the first couple times I played it, I'm like, I need the reference guide for all the different iconography on like what this means on the different cards and stuff. So that felt very much like home and in this one as well. But I agree, like you very much need it your first handful of plays.
I was impressed, Joe, because you had not played Revenant before, right?
No.
And the rules explanation and then Ben was saying, hey, look at this, do this. And you were just like, yep, got it. I'm good to go.
It's because if you played Voidfall, a lot of it makes sense.
Yeah.
And 75-80% of the iconography is the same.
Yeah.
Or similar. They use a lot of the same arrows and things. And
the resource symbols are the same, except there's one new one in this game.
Corruption is corruption.
Corruption is corruption, yeah. The Voidborn symbols are mostly the same. It's
like
it's very
if we
similar.
played Voidfall with you right now, you'd probably have a pretty easy time starting to play Voidfall.
Yeah, okay.
I think so.
And the resources are the same. How about you, Ben? Initial thoughts?
It looks beautiful. We'll get into it a little bit later when we're talking pros and cons. There are some, I would say, visual design issues with the game, not necessarily tied to the artwork, but more just some choices made with things like colors and where certain things are. But the game itself it's pretty fun. It's sneaky. A lot of the points happen hidden at the end of the game, which is a pretty interesting way to play where you might think somebody's scoring 4 points with one of the houses and then they score 28 points with that house and you just don't see it coming. And that's a pretty cool mechanism for a game like this. If you played other hidden information or kind of more social deduction type games, it has some elements of that where a lot of the important things are kind of under the table in this game. But, presentation's good. The gameplay loop is pretty fun. It's a pretty tight game. You only get to take 12 actions, so you need to make them count. But when you really make them count, you feel pretty smart. So it's a good time.
Yeah, I do like the fact it is 12 actions, but it's 12 actions plus 12 bonus actions.
Yeah,
which the bonus actions sometimes are like crazier than your normal action, which feels pretty good.
Yeah, it feels really good when you have like that one turn that all of a sudden you hit like all the synergies of all the things. and it just lines up, and then you're like, oh, instead of just one thing or two things, I got like 8 things this turn. And now here's like, the cherry on top is, and here's my bonus action that's also going to stack up to be like 4 more things.
Yeah, so huge pro for me, just like Voidfall, everything you really need to know how to play the game is on the table. Now, double-edged sword, it's a lot, but it's like Voidfall. I don't have to get the rule book out for Voidfall at all. I don't have to get out the guide for it anymore. The board, it tells you exactly how turns go, everything you can do in a turn. Like everything is out there as a visual reminder, but it is a lot. And this one is similar. I'm not quite there on this game yet because I've only played it twice, but I can see if I play this a couple more times, it would really lock in there and click and be like, okay, well, that's how all of this works. I'm a big fan of games where they give you all that information on the board. Like Shackleton Base is another really good one that I can teach from the board.
Orloy.
Yeah,
does
or
that?
like a lot. If I can teach the game from the
Golem
board,
does a good job.
it's huge.
Right?
Golem's pretty good too.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if Golem is actually the name of the game I'm thinking of, or
You remember? I was like, you remember that game?
I remember.
It has
Yes.
marbles.
Yeah, that's
'Kay.
the game. I'm right.
Joe chose not to forget.
So let me ask you this: like, if you guys, you're taking your journey through the Voidborn universe, right? Revenant is the sequel, but would you recommend somebody starting with Voidborn before jumping into Revenant, or do you think this game?
I mean, they're two completely different
Okay.
games. I'll talk about that in my final thoughts about which one I like better.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because I guess I'm wondering if would I appreciate Revenant more if I had played Voidborn first, or are they so distinct that
They're so
they're
different.
okay.
I don't
Yeah.
think it would matter. It depends on what kind of game you like. Now, you might have been like, oh, Voidfall is this kind of game, and maybe because Ben talked about this earlier, you had a preconceived notion of what this game might be like, and then it wasn't like that because of Voidfall.
Right.
So if you're coming in blind to either one, you have to be like, okay, well, these are the mechanisms of this game, and Voidfall's they're two completely different, distinct games. The similarities are the iconography, the resources, the theming.
They brought some of like the same like house or like ideas.
Yeah, like the
All
houses.
7 houses in this game are Voidfall houses. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of that is the same, but in Voidfall, what you're doing is completely different.
And I would also say that like Revenant is a very good board game, but Voidfall takes a lot of pains to make sure that like it's building a universe. Every time you play, you're setting up a different scenario that like here's what's happening, and Voidborn are doing this, and like your factions are doing that. You're playing as the factions in that, and like it significantly changes how you play the game from faction to faction. Whereas with this, it feels much more like and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's much more of a board game where you're sitting down to it, and like if I'm red or yellow or blue or green, that's an indicator of what color I'm playing as, not an indicator of how I need to change my play style for this playthrough.
Yeah.
And from one playthrough to another, it's not going to be, maybe it will. Like there are definitely some things that'll change from play to play here, but like Voidfall had entire different scenarios.
Well, and you can play that game cooperatively too.
Exactly. And like, again, that's please don't take that as a con on this game. It's just that's illustrating the differences between the two games.
Also, just to talk about Voidfall a little bit more, it's another one where if you look at it, you're like, oh, this is a 4X game. It's a 4X game as much as Scythe is a 4X game because it is a engine building Euro game hidden by, oh yeah, I can also go fight.
Yeah, if you see Voidfall on a table, you would think they're playing a space combat simulator. But if you sit down and actually play Voidfall, it is a complicated but totally mathable, like solvable economic puzzle.
Yes.
That also just happens to feature the ability to shoot things. But the shooting things is literally a cardboard calculator that you can also math out the entire combat
And
scenario.
they should put that quote on the box right there. I like it.
So it's a it's a sneaky design like that where the gameplay doesn't necessarily match up with what you're looking at the table, but Voidfall is one of my favorite games. It's really satisfying to play.
I also think that between the two games, there is the opportunity where you're not required to in either of them to play kind of like against the other players at the table, but it's an option. I think you have a lot more of that capability in Revenant than you do in Voidfall, right? Like if you're removing one house's ship in this and somebody else is actively working for it, it's going to be much more like gotcha or take that versus in Voidfall, like to even have combat with somebody else, like you kind of got to want it.
It happens, but it's rare.
Yeah. Like,
and there will be entire games where no players ever fight each other in Voidfall.
And like this is more of a little bit more of like a zero sum.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so a big pro for me for this one is, I guess it's the player interaction. And maybe I haven't mastered enough of that yet, but the difference between, this is a highly player interactive Euro, because besides taking up the worker spots and doing things, you're going to be also choosing what crap gets blown up and what stuff's going to score. And you can kind of try to view what people are doing, but people also have some hidden cards that are going to boost their scoring at the end too, depending on how the houses are doing on the board. The thing is with me, and I guess I feel like this is a pro for me, you kind of have to decide, like, are you going to fight a lot of Voidborn, or are you going to just do your own thing and try to score a bunch of points? So tonight, Ben won. I mean, it was close, and I played way better this game than my first game. And I think I killed probably more guys this game. But you got to find that balance between, I'm going to kill these guys, and tonight I killed way too many guys, and that's probably was my ultimate downfall. I got really combat-y, and then I had turns where I was just bumping the top of that track instead of getting things just to protect some points I had on the board. Whereas you could play this game where no one destroys any ships and everyone's just down in their business trying to score points, and then there's no ships left on the board. Like, there's a wide range. Like, tonight we were on it. Like, we saved a ton of ships. The Revenant ship never got destroyed. I haven't seen the Revenant get destroyed either game I played, but Ben has.
Yeah, my first game of this, the way that the end game scoring for this works is that every house has as many as 4 ships on the board, and we have influence tracks that show how influential we are with the individual houses. And the scoring is your influence times the number of ships that house still has on the board, with 4 being the maximum. I think the first time I played this game, no house had more than 2 ships at the end of the game. The Revenant was destroyed, and our scores were less than half of what they were today on average.
That's a really different game than the game we played today.
Yeah, it can be, again, if a couple players set up to be able to, destroy 4, 5, 6 Voidborn at a time, it's a very different game than if nobody shoots the Voidborn. So
yeah, we played, Ben, you and I, we had 85 and 67 as our score, and tonight everyone was above 90.
Yeah, more ships alive, more points in the game.
Well, that's what. So my first play of this, and it might have been the way I actually taught the game, was I did a lot of warning of like, hey, we can't let the Revenant take damage, because if it does, we're all going to suffer these consequences. So the first game I played of this, we all went combat heavy. We all had ships that could move multiple and attack 2 or 3 times. So like, we had hardly any ships that got destroyed the first time we played it. The second time, after seeing that, like, oh, actually, maybe I do want some ships to get destroyed. I want Rob's ships to get destroyed or Joe's ships to get destroyed. So then we took the other end of it where, like, we did a lot of movement or manipulating of shields and stuff like that. But it was totally opposite. Like, we only had, I think there were some ship tracks that had 0 that didn't score anything at the end of the game. I felt like tonight was kind of a balance between that. We did have quite a few ships that got terminated like in the second round, right? But then Ben and I came back in that last round. What did we add? Like 4 or 5 ships back to the board in the last round. So like I did feel like we had, I don't know, I feel like every game has kind of been a little bit different in terms of like how that battle takes place and where you lose ships versus which ships come back, things like that.
Yeah. And I think that's the cool part of the game. And that's really the gamey part of the game that you might not understand your first couple of plays is how you let that happen. And it's not just blowing up ships. Sometimes you want to maybe take an action with the ship just to move it into a zone. So then you can also decide what gets blown up in that zone. Because we talked about, like, there's no way to move the Voidborn around, but there's ways to move the other ships around into dangerous spots.
The other ships or the shields.
And I don't feel like we did a lot of that tonight either, but like you totally could.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of things to factor in with what you're doing.
Yeah, maybe I was playing this too simplistically, and that's maybe why it's more of a 4 when you start to actually get
There's
into
more
this.
levels.
Yeah, like I think another thing that I really like about this game is that there's like, when you get corruption in this game, like a lot of the time in a lot of games now, there's like mechanic in the game that it's like, hey, and if you have this, it's a bad thing that can happen to you. But if you're good at managing it, it's actually a major benefit to you to take that like negative effect over and over again. So like another one like this is like My Father's Work, where you have like your maladies or whatever they are, or like maladjustments, where if you have more than 2, permanent bad thing to you. If you have less than 2, it's just points every time you like resolve it. And this had it with like corruption and with the little like planet exploration cubes that you were hunting, where like it's just more hidden points that keep coming your way as you're addressing it. And like maybe it was my faction in particular, but like one of their abilities was like, and now you take one of those and you like, that just becomes more points for you, basically.
So I'm going to take that, because talking about pros, like one of the things I really liked about this is the variability, right? Not only in just your base board that you're given at the beginning of the game, like your captain abilities and things like that, but then you can upgrade each of your cadets, right, with additional abilities. And so as the game goes on, you get to juice these cadets that can, this guy can also move 2 and get rid of corruption and do 5 attack and things like that. Rob, I wanted to go back to your comment on the player interaction. I felt kind of the opposite. Like outside of manipulating the tracks, there were so many times that like Ben or you or Joe were taking your turns, and like I didn't care. Like I knew you guys were running your engine to do all this stuff, but it really wasn't impacting like the next thing that I was going to do on my turn, as long as the ship that I, wanted to activate was still available. Like, Joe's over here running. I think you had several turns where you're like, and then this, and then this, and then this, and this. We're over here talking about something else while Joe's, finishing out his turn.
By the way, does not make you win the game.
No, I agree with you. I mean, ultimately, but the board state matters a lot for player interaction. Like, not, oh, you took my spot. Oh, you're now in control of these 3 sections and you're going to decide what gets blown up.
Yeah, that's
that's
certainly something to watch
You
out,
can
right?
blow up, like, understanding who's going to control that part of the phase is big. And how many ships are in there, and like who's going to deal with what, or is anybody going to deal with anything? Like, oh, I'm not going to deal with that, but I'm there, and I'm going to then decide I'm going to blow that up and keep my thing alive.
Yeah.
That is the part that's where I feel the meat of the game lies right there, in strategically playing that board properly. And I don't think I have that down yet.
That's why I think this is a low complexity game, because I didn't even think about that the whole game.
No,
it was like, points.
This game's like a 7-layer bean dip.
Yeah,
Joe.
that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think
I
the
just got
layer,
the top layer of bean.
Yeah,
I think my captain's power today helped in that I had basically an ability to put an extra ship out on the board when I took the Revenant action where I built a ship. So I could put 2 ships out, which massively changes the scoring of the game. And figuring out the right time to do that in the right place where nobody else could mess with those points probably scored me a third of my points in this game.
Yep.
That's fair.
So that's purely timing and watching what other people are doing, puzzle aspects.
I think Ben definitely won the game by adding ships to the board.
Yeah,
and
Ben
key
came
points.
back in those last 2 rounds and just juiced the 2 tracks that he was highest on and got him up to 4 ships each.
And specifically putting those ships in places where they could not be destroyed with what else was going on in the game.
Yep.
Yeah,
well, and that was a hindrance to us as well, because we removed too many ships possibly, so that happened. So I feel like there's a delicate balance to what you're doing there to kind of figure that out. And the other interesting, so I like the upgrade. You can upgrade your frigate, which is awesome. You can upgrade your cadets, which is awesome. You can upgrade your captain, and all the captains are different. You can...
Feels very tracky in that way for you. Or maybe like a Tableau builder a little bit.
Yeah, no, all of that is great. You kind of kit out your team, so to speak, in the way you want to do it. Like tonight, I was like, I did a lot of cadet stuff last time, and this time I'm like, I'm just gonna max out my frigate and see what it can do, and it can do all kinds of cool
Yeah.
stuff. So that was really fun.
So some of that, maybe that segues into cons, because then as you're upgrading or looking to upgrade your captain or your cadets, you're really limited by your card draws, right? And I think that's one of the things that is frustrating in the couple of plays that I've had with this is if you're not getting cards or upgrades that synergize with like your base captain ability, or I don't know, like your cadet, you don't have cards that play well with your cadet abilities. It's very, you can't really fish that deck. I mean, you draw cards at the end of every round, but outside of that, in 4-round game, there's not a lot of other ways to grab additional cards. And so
there's
you can
spots here and there, but I really think upgrading your captain in this game is a huge deal.
yes.
Because that does give you more card draw too.
Yeah,
and a bunch of abilities.
Gives you more card draw, and it allows you to look at more of the hidden influence cards too.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the game,
Which to me, the first time I played, I didn't get my captain up all the way, and that was the part that I felt real hindered by. I'm like, I kept drawing crap out of that deck to bump my tracks at the end. And today I'm like, I get to draw 4, and every time I drew 4, I was finding good stuff.
you're always fishing for the one that you really need. But.
Yep.
Yeah, if we're talking about cons, I have a couple with this game. Overall, I do really like it, but the one thing I want to mention is there is a board for the influence tracking, which has 7 tracks on it that are all different colors. Every player has a piece that goes on those tracks. Those tracks have some bonuses on them. The critique I have, and it wasn't quite as bad maybe today with the room we're playing in and the lighting that we have, but 4 of the 7 tracks are blue. They're just various shades of blue. 3 of those,
it's dark.
3 of those blue,
light blue, purple, like
and a
light
teal
purple
kind
and
of.
teal. Yeah.
And 3 of those tracks are literally adjacent to each other, right in the middle of the board. And the house symbols are fairly small, and this is a big game on the table. So if you're sitting at the far corner of that board, it can be hard to even tell what track you're looking at. And it just from a design, a game that looks as beautiful as this, that was a bit of a detractor for me of that. There's this one part of the game that's really important to the game that's not as readable as it should be, given that it's where all of the points are.
Yeah, not just that, but all the ships on the board are sometimes hard to read. I have I don't know if this is called the Admiral or whatever thing, but it adds the plastic miniatures, which on all honesty, they look cool, but they just kind of get in the way of looking at things.
Almost makes it more fiddly with the
and like trying to pick
plastic
like
components.
Yeah, so like
it makes it harder to see the house symbols on the tiles, and it sometimes just obstructs line of sight to them entirely.
Yeah, I may just play it next time without them and see how that feels.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I'm sure it was they were taking feedback from Voidfall, and like Voidfall, like if you had the minis for that one, or like the like plastic components for it, they had bases to like lift them all off the board as well, where they were individual ships. And I'm sure there was feedback that like, especially with the small ones, like they were finicky or they would fall off that stand a bit. And maybe that's why they weren't here. But in order to be able to see the board better, in order to be able to like really see what's going on, I think it would have been a benefit to actually have them in this one as well.
I want to go back to another pro. I really like the Revenant actions, and I think it's cool that one of them lets you do the jump, which basically at the end of the round, you either jump or you do, I forget what the other thing's called. There's basically 2 end of round things that can happen. And based on whether you jump or not, you do one of the 2 things. And one of them moves down this track, which I was killing a lot of things. So I was going up this track a lot. And actually, the difference in the game might have been the fact that we didn't go down that track one time in the 3rd round. So, because when you go down it, you get stuff. And I would have maxed that twice, which would have given me 2 more track bumps for a multiplier and 2 more cards.
And 3 more resources going back up again. Like it's significant for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So me being the shooty guy, now that I'm realizing that, I should have probably been thinking, oh, I have to trigger that myself if nobody else is going to do it. But it was kind of hard to know if anybody was going to do it because I was playing as first player the whole time. But that is one thing that I like. I like especially in the end, you can choose to go land on a planet too, and you can kind of pick some end game scoring that way. So I don't know. That's a really cool decision tree at the end of jump, do this, don't jump, do that. And when you jump, you basically reset the whole board. Like all the bad guys go away, all the planets change, where the wormholes go change. There might be like a ship that shows up.
You go to hyperspace
Yeah.
and you end up somewhere else.
I will say for a first play, it was nice that we had once that like we didn't do it, so you could see what both tracks are. But yeah, I totally agree that for like if you're actually playing for the sake of like playing to win, understanding when to jump and when to not jump is a big question.
Well, and sometimes you jump. Like I know in the first round, I jumped because you also get rewards from jumping, right? And some of those rewards on those jump cards, like that's specifically why I went after it, is because I needed the 2 data cubes it was going to give me to get another draw and things like that. So there's other benefits to just jumping outside of trying to avoid the glut of Voidborn that are coming onto the map.
Yeah, and there's big scoring implications to the jumping mechanic as well, where you get to see where all the Voidborn, when you choose where you jump, you get to see where all the new Voidborn are going to be. So if the board is sitting in a state where you have, most of your ships over in one corner, the ones that you care about for scoring, and one of the jump cards doesn't put any Voidborn in that corner, you obviously want that jump to happen. So you're more incentivized to really push to make that happen because it hurts everybody else and it doesn't affect you.
Yep.
So those decisions matter a lot. And this game's just full of lots of little things like that, which I think is one of the cooler aspects of the game, is there's just, every time you play it, you're going to see 2 or 3 new little edges that, you can eke out over the other players if you get the right timing or you just have the right stuff at the, at the right moment. And it's satisfying when it works.
Let's talk about the hidden fleet and personal goals that are dealt out at the beginning of the game.
Oh, sure.
So that was one of the things that I was a little perturbed about tonight. Was the fleet goal I got was to have, 4 of the shuttle ships on the board, which the game starts with 0 shuttle ships on the board.
They're the first ones off the board.
Yeah, and the only way to get them out on the board is you're limited to either doing, is it the Revenant action or the jump action?
There are a few other cards that do generate shuttles, and I believe a couple of the planets make them as well, but I don't know if we saw any of those today.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's 2 action spaces on the board that generate a shuttle if you want to, but one of them is also how you generate any ship onto the board. So it's unlikely that a shuttle's going out if a player has another option. So that's definitely, I think, of the fleet cards, the hardest one to score.
Yeah, and the shuttles
it should
can
be
get
worth more.
Or it should just require fewer ships.
Yeah,
Maybe 2 or 3
the
instead of
shuttles
4.
only take 1 damage to destroy. So they're also, even once you get them out there, which we did, I had the goal met at one point, but then they're super easy to destroy to get off of there. And I felt like I guess I didn't pay attention to your guys' fleet goals, but from what I've seen, it's typically like the ships that are already on the board, like you want to keep 5 fighters on the board or things like that, which I feel like is a lot easier to
I'd have
accomplish.
4 landers, and I never really felt like that was in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 4 fighters, and I think only 1 fighter got destroyed in our entire game.
I had 5 of the big guys, and not one went off the board for the entire game.
Yeah.
Now, 1 or 2 could have gone if I wasn't careful in like the last round, but it was never something that I couldn't control relatively easy.
Yeah, I will say the personal objectives, you get a choice of 2 at the start of the game. These are the non-fleet ones. Those do seem to be a little more level in my experience. Most of them are pretty achievable. There's definitely variance there, but like the one I had today was just to max out my captain, which was something you generally want to do anyway, so that worked out great for me. But from what I've seen of those all seem relatively doable compared to the fleet ones. Not so much of a concern there for me.
Yeah, that one card, I would agree with that. I guess a pro con, it says best at 3. Like 4 was okay. It did feel like it drags a little bit of 4 because there's a lot to do. So I could see where this could shine at 3. We played it at 2, and you play with kind of a dummy third player that's really easy to play. So like that wasn't even that big of a deal.
Yeah, real simple decision tree where like he'll put a figure on a ship and that ship will go land on a planet and that's all that happens. That's his turn.
Yeah, pretty much just to kind of block spaces. I wonder if there's just a different way to choose the fleet cards. Even if I don't know.
There's only 4
There
of
are
them.
4,
Even a
yeah.
4-player
I know.
game, they're all going to be in play. But I guess you could do some kind of draft,
Yeah,
player order
that's
draft.
kind of what I was thinking. But like, who would ever pick that one?
Or maybe pair them up, try to pair them up with sets of personal objectives that like put easy personal objectives with the difficult fleet objective.
Yeah,
or something.
and then just draft them face up, like draft
Yeah.
groups of them or something.
But then you know what other people's personal objectives are, so it's just
Yeah.
kind of I feel like maybe there needs to just be more fleet cards, maybe with like mixed fleet objectives on them.
Yeah,
Like
instead
so many of this and so many of that or
to
something.
make them a little more varied so that it's not, you know that somebody's not stuck with that particular one.
Kind of
right?
odd that they didn't mimic that fleet, draft with the same way as the personal goals, because I think that'd be better to at least be given a choice between which fleet
Yeah.
goal you wanted to pursue.
One other con, we already talked about this, but the iconography, it's all on the like board. But like there were a couple times where I looked at something on mine and I'm like, this is saying this, which is an icon, and then this, which is a different icon, and then like this third thing because it has like a dotted line box around it. And Rob's like, oh, it means this. And I'm like, show me how it means this. And like he was right, absolutely, but it very much felt like I was reading hieroglyphics.
And
there
on
for
the
a minute.
upside, they do list out exactly what every
They do,
card does in the
yes.
thing. So at least they don't leave that to. There's some games that don't have that, and it's like, let's play match the symbols up, and you have to add A plus B plus C symbol to figure out what the symbol actually means. So
I totally agree. They have an entire glossary book that like half of it, I don't know, like 10 pages of it is just like, here is the specific card or the specific like leader ability that like what it means written out in words. So there's like no ambiguity there. But the fact that they have to do that also tells me that they know that there's some ambiguity there.
Right.
That's a bit of a mind class special, if you will, though.
Yeah,
of, like,
absolutely.
they make big, heavy, complicated games, but they also typically make good player resources
Yes.
for those games.
Yes.
So, it helps, but there's a learning curve for sure. There's a lot of, if you showed this to a non-gamer, they would just say no and walk away.
Yeah, that's very fair. Like I said, it was worth bringing out because we had talked about it before. Was it really that big of an issue to me when I've played Voidfall a handful of times already? No. But like, if this was my first time touching a Mind Clash, I could see that would be a barrier to entry.
That segues into my biggest, con with this is that iconography and unfamiliarity with it, to me, also contributes to the length of play. Like my first play was with 4 players who none of us have played Voidfall. None of us knew anything about the iconography. And I swear to God, we passed that, that job aid around 100 times, every time we drew new cards. Okay, what does this do? So you'd spend 10 minutes looking at what the 4 cards you draw did. And just, I don't know, that 4 hours for our first play with 4 people was just way too much for the amount of joy that this game brought us in the end.
You know what this needs is the SETI or Civolution player handbooks that have just every card in the game in the player book, so that you don't have to pass the giant tome around and everybody can just look at what all their own stuff does in between their turns. And I actually feel like especially for the first few plays, that probably would have cut playtime significantly for most groups.
Having your own little...
I'm going to develop BGA augmented reality glasses that you just wear. And then when you look at stuff, it'll just like, you can like tap on it with your finger and it'll pop up like exactly what it means.
Yeah, you
All right, but since these are for board gamers, they better come in like the Coke bottle glasses that are like taped together in the middle with like white athletic tape.
Yeah.
You get the meta glasses with the Minority Report pop-ups.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you can't wear those in public anymore.
All right, well, let's hit final thoughts time here on the Board Boys podcast. We have a 3 boing rating scale, 0 being the worst, 3 being the best. Half boings are allowed. Your favorite game ever is 4 boings. Let's talk about a 0 boing game of Revenant first. And I think that's just where the Revenant exploded.
And your house scores 0 points.
Yes. And actually, it exploded twice. Because I think technically it can do that, right? Like it resets and it...
Yeah, it can get damaged, and that does bad things to you. And then in the final round, if it gets damaged, it explodes.
Exploders. All right, the 3 boing game of Revenant is you see the whole matrix and know exactly what ships to blow up and what ships not to blow up. And maybe, I don't know, you said this is like Battlestar Galactica, right? So Maybe they should have got the license for that.
I actually think this system in the Battlestar Galactica universe would make a lot of sense. It's story-wise, it's a pretty, it's a similar setting.
Isn't it a thing where, like, I never really watched Battlestar Galactica, but isn't it a thing where, like, they're being chased and they would jump, and then they get chased and they would jump, and...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Cylons are after them all the time.
It's kind of similar to Stargate, the Deep Space one, right? Or no? Or there was one episode like that, I thought, where they were... It's kind of BSGS. But you know what I'm talking about? The season where they're not in Atlantis and not normal...
Universe?
Yes, that one.
The one where they're on the ancient ship?
Yeah, where it got real dark.
Yeah.
I feel like.
And then they canceled it? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go to my left. Joe?
2 boings. Solid 2 boings. This is a good game. It's got beautiful art. When you understand the iconography, it works. This game plays well, and like the more we talked about it, the more that it is a bit of a thinker game for people that like those types of games. As long as you understand that this is not Voidfall when you're coming into it, even though it's in the same universe, that it's its own type of game, I think you can have a great time with this.
So I was a little on the fence coming in. I was prepared to give this 1.5 boings, but I think after our playthrough tonight and just talking about it, I think I'm going to go up to 2. I appreciate what the game does, and I do think that there is a lot of strategy to how you manipulate the board and how you interact with the things that you do to, influence those ship and tracks and things like that. The biggest thing that holds it back for me is just the iconography and the playtime. Like, that's, full honesty, that's why I'm giving my copy away, is like I have too many other games that kind of, have that epic space battle feel and things like that I can get to the table quicker, that I don't have to go through a tome of iconography to understand each time. And I just don't feel like this game's going to, hit my table as often as it should, given, that there's all these other games out here that I could be playing.
All right. For me, I had a bit of a journey with this game. The first time I played it, I think my gut reaction was, why would I ever play this when Voidfall exists? It's in the same universe. It kind of looks similar, but I just didn't like it as much. But I've really grown to like it more with every subsequent play. I had a blast today, and every time I play it, I keep finding new things that are just pushing happy buttons in my brain. And I think right now I'd probably land at a 2.5 on this one. I really like it. I'd play it anytime.
I actually enjoyed watching Ben in the last couple of turns he took to manipulate those tracks so substantially and score all those points in the last couple of rounds. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with Ben. I looked at I didn't realize that I already rated the game on Board Game Geek, and it was a 7.5, and I was like, all right, I'm probably going to give this game a 2. But the more we talked, and after this game, I was still kind of like probably a 2, but after we talked about it, I'm going to round up to a 2.5 because there's a lot going on. And I still like my 7-layer bean dip analogy.
Yeah.
And I think I'm only on layer 3. And if you were on layer 6 or 7, you could be really deep in the streets on this one. There's a lot you can do in this game, and a lot to think about, and a lot of different paths. And every time you play it, you could try something slightly different, and figuring out how to wobble into the thing you need is super satisfying. The thing that just, and it's probably what marks it as a good game, is I always just want to do a little bit more and I can't.
Mm-hmm.
So I only get 3 guys, and there's Voidborn everywhere.
I think another thing that speaks to is a credit to this game is that we played 4 very different games of Revenant today, and our scores were within 15 points?
Yeah.
I mean, we were close.
I think 3 of us were all within 10 even. So
yeah, I mean, there's clearly it's fairly balanced in that way of there are many approaches to victory. So
yep. And I just throw out there, in this box there is an expansion called Revenant, Reason, and Faith, which is oddly enough has a completely different designer. It's Robin Hagedis. I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, I remember looking at the rules for it, and the rules were fairly short. The Revenant Reason adds science vessels, which gives you longer lasting advantages, it says, and Faith brings paradigms into play, They give you collective choices that divide the great houses and dramatically alter the course of the game.
So I have played with the science vessels.
Okay.
And those are cool because the science vessels on the board have cards that sit in front of you that are specific to what that ship does.
Oh.
So nobody else has the ability to go to that ship and do the thing that you can do on that ship with the science vessels. Now, the reason expansion or maybe it's the faith expansion. Again, I've read the rules for that. That sounds cool because it does have an agenda where you can either push it all the way to the left and this house goes down, or you can push it all the way to the right and this house goes up. So I can see like maybe where you manipulate to offset the player that's in the lead or the house that's in the lead to kind of,
And we'll just say,
even
as a big Twilight Imperium fan, you said agenda, and my interest went way down for that particular expansion.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested. I would like to try both of these. I wonder if it'll have the Anachrony effect of me, where I think the base game of Anachrony is the best game, and it has a bajillion modules. Although some of the newer ones are cool, but the ones that originally came out with it, I think I ultimately landed on liking like the base game the best. But I will definitely hit those expansions, and I'll come back and we can talk about them later.
Maybe 2 quick other questions on this. Have any of you guys played the solo variant of it, like the single player on it?
Nope. Not.
Be interesting to see, like, because some games when they have like a solo variant, it's just like, all right, it's going to do like these 3 things in a loop over and over again. And others are like much more detailed. And like, I think to do a game like this justice, it's going to have a pretty elaborate like piece or computer like.
Yeah.
I think it does.
I will say, just like Voidfall has an entire solo mode developed by David Turtsey that is
it's fantastic.
I mean, it has its own entire rulebook. This also has a different designer for the solo mode with its own rulebook.
Okay.
So I haven't read it. I'm going to assume it's pretty involved and probably fun.
Very fair.
Voidfall solo mode is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. You have to learn Voidfall and then learn 50 more rules.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
I do like the cooperative part of Voidfall, but
it's complicated.
yeah, it
makes it longer.
It just adds more
Yep.
stuff, and it makes it longer, and it's more to set up.
Yep.
I guess Revenant wins in the setup and teardown factor between,
There's only
between
one
the
map,
games.
Voidfall does take time.
and there's only one map.
which, to be fair, the big map is part of the fun of Voidfall, but setting it up is
Yeah.
a lot.
So I guess spoilers. I mean, Voidfall is a hard 3 for me. So
Yeah, same here.
Voidfall would contend for my 4-point game if I had one at the moment. So.
But you can't, like I said, you can't compare these 2 games like that. Besides they're in the same universe.
That's actually what my second question that I had for the end was. Like, when you think games that are very different in the same universe, do you guys remember a handful of years ago, Twilight Imperium came out with like a roll and write or something?
Twilight
Yes.
Inscription.
Thank you.
We reviewed that.
Yeah,
Not well.
but it's a very different game in the same universe, right? And so I think just because this is in the same universe as Voidfall, I think it draws a lot of comparisons. I think Twilight Inscription drew a lot of parallels to Twilight Imperium because of the same universe. I think this game probably does a better job, in my opinion, of like staying in the same universe, and it doesn't feel like I'm just throwing a theme on top of it better than that one did.
But Twilight Inscription was trying to make a roll and write version of it, and you generally roll and writes try to mimic the game, sort of, whereas like this isn't trying to mimic Voidfall,
Yeah, it's
right?
a different game. Yeah, that's fair.
But I get what you're saying.
This
That's
would be
also
more
why
like
I don't like roll and writes.
we talked about it earlier, Scythe and Expeditions, right? Same
Yeah.
universe,
Yeah.
very different games.
I like that comparison. Yeah.
yeah,
Or Revive, and what's the other one now?
Recall.
yeah, or everything in the role player universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Say you mean Stone Spire Architects is different than Role Player?
Yes. All right, well, let's hit our bump and dump. We like to look back 1 year in the past at the game we reviewed, and this time it was Wroth. That is Wroth. I have not played it since. I'm sure Jake has sold it at this point. We rated it between a 2.5 and a 1.5 with a couple of 2s in there. And who didn't like it? Tim hit it with a 1.5. All right.
Can't even contribute to my IRA with it.
Yeah. Got it.
Joe, you're fired.
It was a 7.8. It is now a 7.5. It was at 5,800. And guess what? It bumped to 2,187. But this game was completely forgettable for me. I don't know if anybody else has played
I
Wroth.
don't even remember.
I played it once. I do like a fair number of Chip Theory's games. This was not one that I cared for. So
Yeah, I'm much more... I kind of compared that to that other one we played, even though they're not the same. Oh, we played it in my house. You want to play with more players? We played it with 3. It's got the objectives as you put guys out.
not
You
ringing a bell.
bid, and then...
Oh,
Kiwi.
Realm of Reckoning.
Yeah, I don't know why, but Wroth and Realm of Reckoning didn't... just because they're like different takes on dudes on a map type games. Anyway, I like Realm of Reckoning was fantastic.
Yeah, that one's way more of
comparison.
a bidding auction, area control kind of thing. Wroth is just, it's like Risk Plus almost. I don't know. It wasn't for me.
I don't recognize this game at all, but it looks pretty.
It's very
From the
colorful.
pictures, yeah.
Say
I've
Chip-
never heard of it before in my life.
Chip Theory does fantastic productions, but not all of their games are hits.
That could mean that I've played it up to a dozen times.
I mean, you do play games with Jake sometimes, right? So
Sometimes,
maybe.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Board Boys Podcast, Season 19, Episode 1, Revenant by Mind Clash Games. Go to theboardboys.com. You can get to all our cool links out there. You can go join the Discord and chat with us, play some BGA games. You could join our Patreon and become a patron and support us. That'd be much appreciated. Or just go give us 5 stars on iTunes or Spotify. That would help us as well. You can also see our Instagram, Facebook, where we post all these cool pictures. And we post, we have a really cool search function on the website. If you want to know if we've ever talked about a game before, type it in, it'll show up, and you can go listen to that episode. I would like to thank our patrons now. BJ from Board Begin. I'm leaving that
10
in.
out of 10.
BJ will laugh.
Yeah. I'd like to thank our patrons now. BJ from Board Game Gumbo, Timothy Crisco, Shifty Teeth, Jordan Smith, Andre Bosch, Braden Dowdy, Rob Cooper, Matt Kelly, Portland Gamecraft, Terry Ward, Mark D. the Fourth, and Jeremy Philman. Thanks again, everybody. And until next time, we hope you like board games.